Aside from dreams and angelic appearances featured prominently in the infancy accounts of Matthew and Luke, the Synoptic Gospels, Mark, Matthew, and Luke, report 5 main incidents of such visions and or appearances in the career of Jesus. The dunking or baptism of Jesus is an alternate state of consciousness experience. In the steps toward becoming an Israelite holy man, Jesus meets his guide, John the Dunker. He is then contacted by the spirit world, the realm of God, alternate reality. And God himself reveals or discloses his own identity and his relationship to Jesus. This is my beloved Son. The temptation of Jesus is really an honor test or trial by ordeal of loyalty to God, who proclaimed Jesus as his Son, a holy man. The experience and successful passing of this test is another step in the process of becoming an Israelite shamanic figure, an Israelite holy man. Jesus demonstrates in the Synoptics that he has acquired the necessary skills to deal with and control spirits. Walking on the sea stories found in the Synoptics is a third type of alternate state of consciousness. This event is reported as a visionary experience by the disciples, or of the disciples. Even if it strains our Western credulity to believe it to have been an actual event in the life of Jesus and his disciples, we have to remember they're not Western people. The story relates a real experience of a real event that happened to them in alternate reality. In Matthew, Peter sinks because he has exited alternate reality and has returned to the usual world where walking on the sea is simply not possible. Peter transferred from one dimension of reality to another. The transfiguration the stories are fourth type of alternate state of consciousness experiences recorded in the Synoptic Gospels. This is another visionary experience of Jesus' disciples. In the Mediterranean world of the present and of antiquity, the solution to concerns and problems often comes in altered state of consciousness experiences, dreams, trances, visions, and the like. That's what happened with Joseph in Matthew and his dilemma. And the transfiguration experience does just that. It assures and exhorts the disciples to bond closer to Jesus. Listen to him, even more so than to Moses and Elijah. You're to listen to him even closer than you listen to the law and the prophets. And finally, the resurrection appearances are alternate states of consciousness experiences. The appearances of Jesus raised by God are visions of Jesus in alternate reality, where he, as God's chosen Holy One, continues to live. The appearances of a holy man are altered states of consciousness experiences and therefore are quite real. They have an objective content. The interpretation that the disciples gave to these experiences was that God had raised Jesus from the dead. Mainstream United States culture frowns upon and even denies the human capacity for visions, trances, and experiences of alternate realities. We are very curious about non-rational dimensions of human existence, we Americans and Western people, but tend to label all such occurrences as irrational. But scientists like Erica Berwa-Young compile a sample of 488 societies in all parts of the world at various levels of technological complexity. And she found that 90% of these societies evidence alternate states of consciousness. Her conclusion: societies which do not utilize these states clearly are historical exceptions which need to be explained, rather than the vast majority of societies that do use these states. Thus, it would be quite anachronistic and ethnocentric to take our post-Enlightenment, post-industrial revolution, technologically obsessed society, fact-obsessed society, as the human normative for judging anyone other than ourselves. For most of the world, even today, a report of alternate states of awareness would be considered quite ordinary. Just not for 10 to 20% of the world's population. Sadly, the ones with nuclear weapons. Cross-cultural comparison suggests that the gospel authors describe experiences of altered states of awareness. This may be difficult for us to believe because we have been enculturated to be selectively inattentive to such states of awareness, except in dreams or under the influence of controlled substances. The physician anthropologist Arthur Kleinman offers an explanation for our Western deficiency in this matter. Quote, "Only the modern secular West seems to have blocked individuals' access to these otherwise pan-human dimensions of the self." End quote. What exactly is the Western problem, Dr. Kleinman? He says that the advent of modern science in about the 17th century disrupted the biopsycho-spiritual unity of human consciousness that had existed up until that point. According to Kleinman, we have developed in the West an acquired consciousness whereby we dissociate self and look at self objectively. Western culture socializes individuals to develop a meta-self, a critical observer who monitors and comments continuously on experiences. This meta-self does not allow the total absorption into lived experience that is the very essence of highly focused alternate states of consciousness. The meta-self stands in the way of unreflected, unmediated experiences that now becomes distanced. If we recognize that objectivity is simply socially tutored subjectivity, we might be more empathetic with persons of other cultures who report perceptions that we find incredible, just because they are socially dysfunctional for us.